Good morning to episode 78 with Wayne and Kelly's video blog. We have Shaun Marker, partner for a Merlin Law firm, as our special guest this morning. How you doing, Shaun?
I'm very well this morning. How are you?
Hey, pretty good. I appreciate you coming on at such a short notice. So before we go into kind of the idiosyncrasies of your career and where you started out, I know you did your undergraduate in Buffalo, correct?
That's right.
And I know one of the things that you're known for in the industry is fair representation and tenacity for the folks that have been wronged by a claims process. But I think you really probably started out with that as a long-suffering Buffalo Bills fan, right?
Still suffering. Buffalo Bills fan.
Still suffering. Well, I know that we had talked about that a lot in our conversation, which I really enjoyed. Is an 0-4 Super Bowl loss, Minnesota Viking fan, long suffering. How does it feel? You know, let's just get that out of the way because, dude, you and I have had, many years of heartbreak.
It's true. And we thought this one was going to be the year we might pull a rabbit out of the hat from coming from 6-6 and then finishing strong. But Buffalo just finds a way to kind of let it down at the end. It's disheartening, you know?
Yeah. Explain a little bit when you started law school in Boston, how that went, and then when you get into the career part, what I didn't know is that you had worked on the insurance side and then switched over. Kind of talk about your career and then what precipitated that move.
Yeah, no, that's good. So I'm a first generation attorney. I come from a blue collar family in Western New York. I was really the first one to go straight into college. Like you said, undergraduate at UB. And then the year that I graduated University of Buffalo was 2002. The economy was turning down and the application rates just jumped dramatically for law school. And so I only got accepted into one law school in Boston, New England School of Law. And I moved to Boston, attended the school there. It was great. I loved the city of Boston. It's a fun times, fun town.
They've got a few rings there, don't they?
Yeah. I know. I had to see that all happen.
Right.
And then they found out I'm a Bills fan. Don't forget how it happened. In 2002, I think they sent Drew Bledsoe to us. And then they elevated Tom Brady, and the rest is history.
Right.
So,
in Boston, you don't wear anybody else's hat or jersey in Boston.
Right.
I thought Philly was badass. Holy smokes! When you're in Boston, you just pretend.
I didn't know that.
Loyal to your team.
I went to a when I was first there, that was before the Red Sox won the series too. Don't forget. Yep. Went to a game at Fenway, and I saw a 5-year-old. He had to be 5-year-old kid wearing a Yankee jersey out there, and we were playing.
No.
Boston was playing the Yankees in this game, and I thought the fans might take it easy on him because he's 5. They treated they would have treated you or I wearing that jersey. I felt bad.
That's child abuse. You should not do that.
That's right.
I was a Redskin fan. We got a couple rings. And when I lived in Philadelphia, I was working for IBM back in the 80s. I guess that's probably before you were born. And we were going to a Redskins-Eagles game. And so I showed up to the office because we were taking a van down to the game. And I've got my Redskin jersey on. They said, not doing that. So, after that, I was in Boston a few times. I didn't even think twice. There's no way in the world I'd ever put a Nats hat on. I actually had one in the back of my car when I drove up there like 6 years ago. And before I drove up, I took the Nats hat and took it and put it underneath the seat so nobody saw
it. We all love our sports teams, don't we?
That's a loyal town. So back to law school. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Back to law school. So Boston was a great place to kind of learn the law and study. The school was great. Professors were accessible. I kind of took my focus in law school in more intellectual property. I wanted to get into doing copyright and trademark law, patents, that type of thing. But I kind of did different clerkships during law school. And when I graduated law school, it was 2005. I had wanted to move to Florida. So my now wife and I, she was in Boston as well a couple of the years I was there. We moved to Florida. I signed up for the Florida bar exam that July, and actually had found my first postgraduate job with an insurance defense firm in West Palm Beach. Powers, McNallis, Torres, and Tabadji was the name at the time. And I had gotten the position or gotten the interview and got my foot in the door kind of because one of the partners in the law firm there was a graduate of New England School of Law. And she kind of helped me get started with it. And as I started to do property insurance claims on the defense side there, I didn't know anything about it before that, but I quickly realized I'm like, this is a pretty cool area of law. I like this. You know, you're kind of governed by the policy, the contract in place. It's a bunch of promises that the insurance companies make to their policy holders. And, you know, you'd certainly hope that, you know, they keep those promises. We all have that innate kind of do right, you know, treat others, golden rule type of thinking. And I quickly realized like, okay, I kind of started to give up on the idea of getting into intellectual property. And I'm like, I'm going to do this. And, you know, Hurricane Charlie, Francis, and Jean had hit. Yep. So as soon as I passed the bar, got the results like in October 2005, the firm's just like, here's like 50 cases. They're yours. We've got so many cases coming in from all these hurricane claims. Go handle them. Try not to get us into trouble. And I love that kind of thing because I'm kind of a independent, think I like to be a part of a team, but kind of do my own thing and kind of be left alone. But I'll come to you if I have questions or need assistance. And it was a good setup for a couple years. I did that with Powers McNallis in West Palm Beach on the property insurance defense. And I will never forget it. So the owner of the firm, I'm with Merlin Law Group, like you had said, Chip Merlin had a high-rise condo association claim from Singer Island, Florida. It's right near West Palm Beach. The Tiara building. It's like a 40-something story condo complex that got nailed by Hurricanes Francis and Jean, both in the same month.
I remember.
Our firm had the defense of that claim, and I wasn't on the team that was directly involved in it, but I kind of watched this claim go through and watched what Chip Merlin did. And I was fascinated with some of the arguments because he made an argument that the Tiara Condo Association could get 2 policy limits and, you know, for 2 hurricanes hitting in 1 month. Yep. And I was by some reload language that was within the policy. And so you got to read the policy. It's so important. That's the roadmap right there. And I just was fascinated with this. Like, how could he possibly do that? And, you know, it got litigated a little bit. And eventually it was the largest settlement that anyone has gotten for a condo association in the state of Florida, still to this day. He got pretty close to double in the settlement from what I recall. And it was just strategically how he handled it. Like when they went to one of the first pretrial hearings with the court, it was in state court in West Palm Beach at the Palm Beach Circuit Court. Chip hired, the chief judge had just retired from West Palm Beach and was off the bench. Chip hired him to do the argument for one of the pretrial hearings that they had. So I just thought that was pretty creative too, from a common sense standpoint, because if you're the judge deciding the case, basically what was just your supervisor or your boss, I guess, for lack of a better term, is now arguing a motion in front of you. You're going to give what they say some credence. I thought that was so creative, you know?
Sure.
Well, let's litigate this case for a second, because I'm not familiar with it, but did they receive double indemnity, like paid twice for the same damage? Or what's the crux of it?
Not the same damage. It was different damage. The first storm did all the damage that it did, and then the second storm came in and damaged even more stuff, even worse. The building.
Okay, so it was still a fair settlement. It wasn't that they were benefiting from for Francis and Jean.
Right. And it was
Okay.
because some language within the policy, it had what they call reload language. Even though that there wasn't time for Tiara to do all of the repairs from the first storm
Right.
before the second one hit, the coverage reloaded and allowed them to have access to another policy limit.
Excellent.
So that was pretty interesting. So at some of the conferences, like we're at a windstorm conference in the insurance industry right now in Orlando. I just kind of networked with Chip Merlin as much as I could and the people that were with him at the time. And eventually the opportunity arose for me to come on board with him. He wanted to open a West Palm Beach office. And I was located right there. I'm like, this is perfect. I can do it. Again, it's here's your setup. Go do your thing. You know, get claims, get them resolved, and, you know, fight the good fight. I think that's a good way of saying that we do. And we're all passionate about what we do at this firm, you know, holding the insurance companies to their promises that they keep to their policyholders. I guess that's what you really, when you break it all down, that's what we do. And we just want, you know, the rightful recovery that the policyholders are entitled to. Nothing more, nothing less.
Love it.
I think right now, probably, I know in my 22-year career, you know, as a contractor and doing a lot of hurricane work, this is probably the worst market I've ever seen. Ian has probably been the worst storm as far as the settlement aspect goes. Now you and your firm as leaders in the state of Florida regarding what I consider experts, full disclosure, American Building Contractors does utilize the services of Shaun and Merlin. Shaun, it's kind of funny. This is actually the first time I'd ever met Shaun in person. He very well regarded within our company, within the industry. Did you take what you learned from that settlement and kind of build on it as far as who you are, who your firm is, use that as a good success story and keep building on it? And if so, how have you been able to do that to increase your market share with your clients and as a respected leader in our industry?
No, absolutely. I did. You seeing what was done there in that example is just something that I built upon it, and that I take with me throughout my practice and throughout my professional career. Really, it's I say it all the time. It's a relationships business to some extent, and what we do, and that I think a lot of the most successful policyholder attorneys did property insurance defense in the start of their career.
Okay.
And it helps them, people like me. Chip did as well. Gregory that works on my team, he did property insurance defense as well. It just helps you to know how to put the claim together, how to show it to the claims examiner and the attorney on the other side that you might be dealing with, the personality there, because you know from the defense background what they need to do to get their clients to put authority on it to get a good and a fair resolution. And so some of the actions that we'll take in the life of the claim, some of the moves that we make strategically and at the time that we do them, is with that in mind, to know, hey, we know what the insurance company is thinking and, you know, what they've got to do to try to get it done. Because let's be honest, both sides do want to get, I do still believe that both sides want to get claims resolved. And I do, the insurance carrier industry wants to. It's just unfortunate with Hurricane Ian, like you said, this is just an unprecedented. I will look at claims that I'll have, you know, in our case list, and I'm unfortunately I shouldn't even have this claim right. The insurance company should have just paid it and done the right thing. I can't believe it. Sometimes where there's clear damage, and that's unfortunate. You know, we've heard this where out-of-state catastrophe adjusters were in town after Hurricane Ian, and it's a residential or condominium complex, a lot of roof damage. And they'll come to the property to be that. I always call the catastrophe, and the field adjusters are the eyes and the ears of the insurance company. They're the boots on the ground. Yep. First responders. These are kind of the titles I give to them because that's what is really what they do. And they report back to the insurance company on what they're seeing, what they're finding with the condition of the property and the damage. But after Ian, some of these catastrophe adjusters were like, I'm not climbing up on that roof. I'm from Oklahoma and I've never seen a tile roof like this, and I don't have a ladder, and I'm not going to get up on there. Or I'm too big to get up on the roof. Well, how are you a catastrophe adjuster responding to losses in Florida then?
Right. So I got a cool example for you. I worked for A1 Flood Tech in Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia, back before I became a wonderful, happy Florida resident, because just like you, I felt the magnet pulling me to paradise 5 years ago. So this was probably, I don't know, 10 plus years ago. It's amazing at my age, I forget how long it goes back. It's probably longer than that. So we've responded to a flood in DC, and DC, as you know, has more attorneys per square foot of anywhere else in the world. They truly do in the population. And this law firm that we were just drying the building. So I was in there checking on everything, make sure the crews are going good and pretty much getting fed because they knew what they were doing. And this attorney, who was a leader of a small group of this big firm, was sitting there going, get this equipment out of here. And we had dehumidifiers and air movers in his office and his team's office. He goes, this isn't going to work. We're trying to settle a claim from a place called New Orleans, because I don't know if you heard, they had a big storm there years before. So I walked and told the guy, I said, listen, you don't own the building. I know you're a big shot attorney, big deal, but you don't own the building. It's got to get dried. We're doing it the right way so we don't have to tear it up later. If you want to stay in here, that's fine with it, but you're going to have to deal with the noise and everything else. And he's like, well, let's sit down and let's talk, because he wanted to see if I knew what I was talking about. And he was trying to settle this big settlement, from that little storm they had. And we started talking about Xactimate and what was required and blah, blah, blah. And he and I sat down for about 30 minutes. He hated me when I walked in. 30 minutes later, walking out, he's got his hand on my back. He goes, you know what? I think we're going to settle this claim. He goes, you just saved me a ton of time. And it was like what you said, Shaun. He wanted to, but he felt like he was getting screwed over by the restoration. I had no dog in that fight at all. I was just basically making sure my team got fed. But I know what's required to dry something and what's required to replace and da da da. We had this great conversation, and and I love seeing the integrity of the guy after his ego, calmed down, of saying, you're not going to come and do this to me. But but it was great, because I love that you said that. So if anybody takes away from anything, is that I think all parties want to do it, and the right way to do it is by having all your ducks in a row. If this guy won't get up on a roof, get a drone, do something. But if you have the wrong people on the ground, it's making the rest of the settlement very, very difficult.
That's right.
Shaun, don't good example, Kelly. Appreciate that. I want your opinion on this though, Shaun. Do you think that we've actually crossed that line where, kind of to Kelly's point, in earlier in my career, where you could actually meet with an adjuster out on site, they had X amount of settlement authority. This was pre-Ian, where, to your point, where the folks that we're dealing with on the front lines now, they're information gatherers. They take it all and then they ship it to corporate, to a desk adjuster, and the file goes to die. Have we crossed over that line now where that's going to be the way it is moving forward? Because frankly, we're all in agreement here that everything seems to have changed with Ian. How do you see this all going forward in future disasters here in Florida for hurricanes?
Yeah, that's a good. I do think that we have crossed a line where it's different than it was even in 2005 when I got started in the industry.
Yep.
And certainly Ian was much different than Hurricane Irma was in the state of Florida, how carriers responded to it. But it has been and is the case, and going forward, where the insurance companies, they don't send out adjusters to the field with authority anymore. It used to be, and you guys will probably remember some of this, you'd have adjusters that would come out and write you a carbon copy check.
I remember. That's how old I am, dude. That's for sure.
I even saw that in 2005, 2006, when I first got started. Those catastrophe adjusters were writing carbon copy checks based on the estimate. It grew up in the field and it got paid. It had authority. I think about how many claims were shut down where right there, the homeowner gets a check. Are they all going to hire somebody? Are they all going to hire a public adjuster or a restoration contractor? Maybe not. Maybe some of those people are going to try to do repairs with the money that they get. And it's just, I just think it was a good way of starting out the claim process to show that good faith. Now, where it is, it's the field adjuster goes out there, has absolutely no authority. Just like you said, they do a photo report, maybe write an estimate that goes to the desk adjuster. And what we've seen in some of the litigation from Hurricane Ian is we'll find out that there was 3, maybe even 4 field adjusters sent out to the same property after Hurricane Ian. And we only got one of the reports, not even really a report, but only one of the estimates of the field adjusters. Well, what did the 2 or the 3 before that one do? And why didn't you disclose that to your policyholder? That's the stuff that I'm interested in, because there's got to be a reason for that, why you didn't go with what the first 2 or 3 field adjusters did and said and reported to you. And sometimes what we found in one instance, there was an estimate, the first and second field adjusters said to our client in the field during their inspection, that roof needs to be replaced. I'm writing it up in my estimate. We never saw those estimates. We're trying to get them in discovery in the litigation. And ultimately, the claim position that they did share from the field adjuster was minor damage below deductible. Well, that just got kind of forced there, like trying to force a square peg in a round hole to achieve the outcome that desk adjuster thinks they have to make. And you wonder if it just stems from, the adjuster thinking like it's their money that they're paying. Maybe I remember when I got started in the industry, there was an old school adjuster that had been around for like 40 something years in the business by this point and had seen all sorts of hurricanes and catastrophes all around the country. And he had said, there's 3 rules in adjusting. It's not, when you're from the insurance company adjuster perspective, it's not my money. It's not my money. It's not my money. And that's how we, and it's true.
Oh, wait, I want to write this down. What was the third one?
Right. I mean,
how true is that? Here's the problem in Florida. I have people come up to me and they say, hey, listen, I got a little water damage from whatever. Can you help me write this up to where it's going to, I'm not even in the business anymore, but they know what I used to do. And I'm like, absolutely not. I don't like insurance companies. I'm just going to be honest with you. But you know what? It's sort of like I don't like attorneys, but God knows I keep them on retainer. And right. I don't like insurance companies, but I'm insured. You know what I mean? But I think, and I used to just love, let's just keep giving it to the insurance companies. If it has the name insurance, I don't care what it is, let's take it to them. But I think so many people abuse the insurance companies, especially in Florida. Probably Florida and Texas are probably the 2 most vulnerable states, where they just gone and just asked for so much that we finally found somebody to build a wall, and it was the insurance companies going, we're going to make this so painful, and to where we don't have many insurance companies even operate in Florida now. So I think some of it's the blowback of previous sins of the claims. And I hate to take that side, but to me, I think we have to put all the cards on the table. I think in some ways we created this monster, but we have to figure out a way to make it work again and be successful for all parties.
How does that look, Shaun? I mean, Kelly's got some good points. As a contractor, I understand the light has been shining in our direction. But I know over dinner, a really hot button topic that I just can't seem to get out of my mind is, the Washington Post expose of the falsification of documents from Heritage Insurance Company. And they are actually here at the conference. And in breakfast this morning, I was talking to some of the folks at the table, and Heritage was involved in a roundtable discussion, and it got pretty hot. So Jesus, Shaun, talk about that. You know, a
Like to bet
report
that
turned
breakfast.
in a report turned in by an IA to the desk adjuster was falsified. And again, this article exposed it. It's on the internet. They show it. What the hell's going on with that, Shaun?
That's fraud. It's fraud,
Yeah.
you know?
Right.
That's what that is. I mean,
Now, can
it's
you
not,
sue IA for fraud, or do we get to go after the person past IA?
well, I don't think that it's the IA that, well, you know, it stems from the desk examiner in that
Yep.
Okay.
forcing them to change it, you know, and luckily there have been some of the IAs that have a conscience that'll say, I'm not going to do that. You
Right.
asked me to go out and evaluate the damage. I've turned my report in to you, and I'm not going to change that and change it from a roof replacement to some minor repair when I don't believe that that's what is needed to restore that property to its previous condition. When some of
Let me
those
do a little
IAs,
correction. When y'all say that's an independent adjuster for the people who are listening. Wayne has been on this AI thing, artificial intelligence. Honest to God, I thought I flipped it in my mind because I'm so used to him talking about it, and that's where I was going with it. But so will artificial intelligence start getting involved with stuff, and will it be honest and pure, or will it be manipulative? That could be a whole show, huh? That's something that, you know, Shaun, you might have to leave that in the legal field.
yeah. Oh, I know. We could do a whole talk like this on that topic alone, the artificial intelligence and how it's going to be used in this industry by insurance companies, law firms, adjusting groups, contractors. You know, it's cutting edge, and I think that the unfortunate thing is that I've heard, especially in healthcare, I was talking with someone at the conference yesterday about this, in the healthcare industry and health insurance, AI is being used to evaluate claims and coverages and stuff like that. And I think that, to me, there has to be a human side to that. I feel like
You and I are in agreement, Wayne. I'm not so much sure.
Well, I mean, there's going to be a place for it, and like everything else, when new technology is brought to the forefront, there's always going to be some potential for abuse. But Shaun, I got to ask you. So when you go through discovery, have you found instances where you've seen the falsification of documents from insurance companies?
We haven't seen the smoking gun with the falsification with it, because in Florida, the court system, there's a body of case law that protects insurance company claim work product and type of materials. So
I didn't know that. Okay.
Wow. Why is that?
Exactly. Why would you not just give full disclosure and full discovery unless you have something to hide? Like what we'll see sometimes is, like in the example I gave, we knew that there were 3 field adjusters that had been out to the property before the one that we got the estimate and the claim position based on. The client, the homeowner, took great notes on who they were meeting with and everything. And you get into discovery, and they claim relevancy objections to having to give you all the reports and photos and estimates. They claim privilege. You know, at best you'll have, when you claim a privilege, if you get over a relevancy objection, then it's just a privilege that they're claiming. They have to do a privilege log, which means they have to list like all the documents on there that they're withholding, so that way we can go in front of a judge and the judge can make a determination if that stuff should be used. That's kind of where we're at in the one that we have right now. It wasn't Heritage, it's a different insurance company. But we think that's what was happening, in the sense that the field adjusters were reporting that the roof had to be replaced, and someone at the desk examiner or supervisor decided, no, we're not doing that. We're going to get this where it's below deductible and a minor repair, and that's the direction that they're going and how they forced it to go. We're investigating that now. And I just think it's unfortunate in the sense that you're harming a policyholder by what you're doing, because you're treating it like it's your money and that you're writing a check out of your funds in that example. which is not how this process.
Number 3 was it's not your money.
That's right.
So, Shaun, one thing we definitely have cleared out, I want to meet you. We're already out of time. We're going to have to bring you back on because we haven't even scratched the surface of this stuff. And I think this is extremely important. And I think the next time we have you on, I'd love for you to like maybe talk about what homeowners and property management companies should do when they do have damage, to be very copious on all their notes and everything. I mean, there's probably so much more that you can share. But I know you guys got to get back to a show. Of course, the rest of us are working. Y'all are like steak dinners and steak lunches and fancy breakfasts with arguments, all the stuff I love. But take a few more seconds if you'd like, if you have something else you want to throw out there to all of our 7 audience members.
No, I think we've talked about some, and this is fun. I'd like to come on again and talk about some other topics. And I do think that's one where I could talk for 20, 30 minutes alone, is just kind of moves to make when you're filing a claim, and what to do to make sure you give yourself the best chance and kind of navigating through it. Because I describe it, the claims process is set up where it's like a gauntlet. It's a gauntlet that you have to move through, and half the time, more than half the time, the greater majority of the time, people that are filing claims, it's the first claim they ever had to file in their life.
Sure.
Right?
Not to mention they just had a very stressful situation happen in their life.
That's right.
It's I'm trying to figure out where I'm going to sleep tonight, but I also have to make sure that I'm not going to get on the back end.
That's right.
Yeah, and Shaun, again, to everybody watching this, and anybody at the Windstorm conference in particular, look Shaun up. Shaun and his law firm are absolutely incredible, and I think more importantly in my book, the testimonial I give for Shaun as a man and who he is. Again, I definitely enjoyed my time with you here, and I'm looking forward to hanging out with you and seeing you again sometime. And thank you for coming on the program at such short notice. I appreciate you, man. Really do.
Yep. Thank you for having me. This has been fun. I appreciate you guys.
All right. We'll see you on the front lines, my brother.
Y'all have a good show. We'll see everybody soon.
Thanks.